Hello everyone, it's Path. So today we are back with another one with Google Sheet. And if you remember 2 weeks ago, I actually did a quick comparison of the performance this year between the Sword and Shield era as well as the Scarlet Violet series. So I was comparing two of them to see which one actually performed better, and I also discussed how the age may come into play when it comes to the performances. And if you remember in that video, I was actually mentioning that I was honestly quite surprised by how the Scarlet Violet era series was performing, because normally we do not see this kind of performance just in 7 to 8 months time. Right now it's about 8 months, so I have updated the price for most of the sets. So now it's as of the date of recording is 11 September, so almost 8 months between them. And you can see the most of the set actually gained more than 50% within 8 months, which is very good. And these are all very new sets, so this is honestly quite surprising. But one of the viewer actually asked me what do I think about Sun and Moon as compared to these two era. And then I was thinking, back of my mind, I was thinking if I would have to guess, I would say that Sword and Shield probably would do better. That is the time where if you do not buy it, you will probably lose the chance to buy them at all. So at the back of my mind, I was assuming, I know that the Sun and Moon and the XY era probably they will do just as well, but honestly I was very surprised. So let's take a quick look. Right now I also did the same for Sun and Moon, and I didn't stop there. I went all the way back to XY as well to see what the gains are like, and I was honestly very surprised, even more surprised by the performance of the Scarlet Violet. So we just take a quick look at this. These are the all 12 sets of it. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Only 11 12. Okay, Sun and Moon has 12 and XY has 11. I'm not sure why 11, but anyway, let's start with Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon, of course, the most popular one is Team Up, and this honestly took me by surprise. I know the price is very high. Even before I recorded this video, even before I did the research, I know it's close to this value, but I wasn't expecting the percentage gain to be that high. It's almost 200% increase in 8 months time. And what is more surprising is that this is not the highest performing series. The highest performing is actually Cosmic Eclipse. It's even close to 300% gain. The other thing I noticed very interesting is that within the Sun and Moon sets, all 12 of them, all of them were gaining above 100%. So even the lowest one, Ultra Prism, gained 101%. What that means is that if you have held any of this set, or let's say if you just held one of each, all of it would have gained at least 100%. And if you take an average, that's about 178% gain of all the sets in the Sun and Moon era, and that is very high, very high. Because if you compare it to the Sword and Shield era, if you just take a quick average, it's 74%, and Scarlet Violet is 59%. And now let's look at XY instead. XY is probably just almost as good, if not better. The lowest performing one is Roaring Sky, 97%, and the second lowest is Evolution. This one is a little bit surprising for me because I've heard so much about Evolution. I've heard many people talking about it and how the prices are going very high, but I'm very surprised to see that this is actually the second lowest performing series in the era. And the highest is actually Ancient Origin, where you have the legendary Pokemons. Again, if we take the average, this is even higher, it's 215%. So I'm very surprised to see that. But I know most of this actually was because of Phantom Forces. Phantom Forces was going crazy in the last few weeks, 1 to 2 months time, almost quadruple in terms of the price. And Ancient Origin did the same. So these two are actually leading the charge in the XY era. So if you have any of these boxes, maybe it's good to find them, dig them out from your basement or wherever you store them, and dust them off a little bit, put them in a nice case, protect them at all costs, because they are going for a very high price at the moment. Phantom Forces is almost touching the price of the base set and all that. This is honestly quite surprising to me because I did not expect. These are only about 10 to 11 years old, so evolution is only about 9 years old, and XY base is not 12 years yet. And if you compare to like the base set and the older ones, the Jungle, the Fossil, the Neo Genesis, those are like 20 years old set, more than 20 years, and the prices is actually not much different from like the Phantom Forces prices. So I do not think anybody would be expecting this. Same for Ancient Origin. I know it's a good set, but I do not think many people actually expect the price to be this high for a 10-year-old set. But of course we can say the same for Team Up. This is not even 7 years old yet. So what do we make out of this? I honestly do not know, but this is the data, this is the price at the moment. Is it going a little bit too crazy? Maybe, but who am I to say this, right? I'm not the one buying this. I'm not intending to buy them at all, because this is way above my league, and I'm a very safe and conservative investor collector. So if I'm buying something, I'm buying them knowing that it is pretty safe and I will not lose money doing that. So if you ask me, let's say if I'm really rich, I have like $11,800 sitting in my bank doing nothing, am I going to spend it on Phantom Forces? Most likely not. Usually when things go up too fast, it will probably have a little bit of correction. It may drop down a little bit, drop by maybe 10, 20, 30%. But even after that, it is still a lot higher than at the beginning of the year. The other thing I wanted to do was just to take a quick look in terms of all the 4 more recent era. So from Scarlet Violet, the Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, as well as the XY. So I was sorting them by the percentage gain, and you can see that now the previous time when I did this without the Sun and Moon and XY, it is actually quite a mix between the Sword and Shield and the Scarlet Violet. But now that I added this to earlier era, you can see that the first half of them, this is about 15-16 of the sets, are all dominated by XY and Sun and Moon. And in fact, XY actually has more in the higher brackets, and when I scroll down, same thing, all the way until Paldea Evolve, it's all Sun and Moon and XY. So this actually did something for me. When I was looking at this, I was thinking my previous strategy in terms of liquidating my product is that I would probably start looking at liquidating some of it, not all, maybe 20%, 30% of it once they hit about a 3-year mark. But looking at this, I was thinking, oh no, maybe I should change my strategy. If I really don't need the money, is it better if I start looking at them or start thinking about selling them after this, the 5 or 6 or 7 year mark? Because if we look at this, it makes sense, because these are the sets that are the older ones, are the ones that are actually dominating the percentage gain compared to the earlier ones. The only exception, of course, is like Evolution, Roaring Sky. These are the sets that are actually not so popular back at their days. Now, honestly, any of this set, if you can find it in the wild for cheap, you will grab them. But at that time when they were released, they are not that popular. Even Steam Siege, they were not that popular. But if you have gotten them, at the beginning of the year for $400, right now you are smiling and laughing to the bank, right? I was thinking, if I honestly really do not need the money, I do not need to sell them. If I can afford to, it would be nice if we can hold them for more than 5 years, 6 years, and hopefully by then another bull market will come, and then these newer sets will probably see something similar to this. Maybe not to the same scale, but even if it is like half the percentage of this, like 200%, 100%, it is still very nice compared to what you are seeing right now. Who knows how it will go next year. I do not expect this to be doing the same thing next year, because if every year they are going by 60-70% higher, very quickly they are going to catch up with Sun and Moon and XY. And so I do not think that is possible, and I do not think that's very healthy for the market as well. So right here, I have also taken an average of the 4 different eras. So we have Scarlet Violet and the Sun and Shield, Sun and Moon and XY era. So you can see the average price at the beginning of this year were honestly very low. If you look back, 1 year ago, 7 months ago, actually all the Scarlet Violet boxes is considered very, very affordable compared to what price we see here in the open market. But that is just comparing within the Scarlet Violet era, and assuming that most of this, just because most of these sets are still in print, even the base set Scarlet Violet to Paradox Rift, at the moment they are still considered in print. So this price to many people, it seems pretty high. But if you are comparing, if you are just looking at just 7 months ago, the prices of the Sword and Shield, the Sun and Moon and the XY era boxes, they are actually ranging from $350 to even $1,000. But of course, XY era boxes, even like 7 months ago, they are like in the 9-year to 10-year average. That's their age. And if you are comparing it to the prices right now for Scarlet Violet, $268, honestly, this still seem very, very affordable. We cannot assume that we can look into the future. I cannot say that 9 years later all the Sword and Shield boxes average will hit this price, $1,000, $2,000, because honestly nobody knows what will happen in the future. But if we are just looking at trends and historical data, if the average of these boxes, the Scarlet Violet boxes, can even reach maybe half of what the Sun and Moon boxes are in another 5 to 6 years time, let's say if it hits like $600 average when all these boxes go to 6 to 7 years old, I think that's still a very good gain, because that would mean like a 250% or 150% gain to 200% gain in a few years time. If you compare this to any of the more traditional investment, it is still considered very good, because I don't think any of those out there can tell you for sure that you're going to get like 150% gain in another 4 years time, 5 years time, and definitely not gains like this in a year, unless you are speculating into some of the crazy bitcoins or a single stock, penny stocks. Maybe you will see something like that in a year. Other than that, typically you don't. This is something else I think is very, very interesting, and definitely will shape my decision making in the future when it comes to time to sell. So yes, that's what I wanted to share today. Let me know what you think. Is this surprising to you, or is this fully expected? And because recently there are many people still talking about Evolving Sky, Fusion Strike and Brilliant Star, but honestly this don't even touch what the older sets are doing. Because here you look at them, Fusion Strike, Brilliant Star, Evolving Sky and Lost Origin, they are about the 100% gain range within this year from the beginning of the year. But if you compare to the older set, these are even touching like 400%, 300% range. Let me know what you think. To me, it is surprising, and it opened up my eyes. Instead of just looking at the newer sets, if your risk tolerance is high enough, if you can tolerate this, if you have enough money to burn, and if you can hold them long enough, it may make sense, to get into some of these very high price and older sets. Wait for them to appreciate. But if you honestly look at this, which are the sets that is probably worth getting into? Honestly, I'm not too sure. Maybe Crimson Invasion. But again, this is one of the sets that there are not many people who actually like them. Sun and Moon base, maybe, same thing. Nobody really like them. Guardian Rising is the same, but will they do the same as what Steam Siege is doing years later, or Permaclash? Who knows, right? So be very, very careful out there. This looks very nice, but this is a bull market. Honestly, anything that you picked up in the last 1 year, 2 year, everything actually went up. Almost anybody will feel like a genius right now, because any box that you picked up, it all gained at least 46%. Let's not count Surging Spark because it is just too new. Even Vivid Voltage was doing 46% in less than a year, which is amazing if you compare to any of the traditional investment. So anybody can be a genius in this kind of market. So be very, very careful and not get burned along the way. I think that's the message I would like to get across. Be very careful. Let me know what else you would like to know from this. what else do you think I can extract from this, what other data I can look at. Otherwise, see you in the next one. Have fun.